All right.
Sorry.
Sorry about the delay. My
I appreciate you here.
All right. So
Recording in progress.
thank you for the acknowledgement. Yeah, actually, unfortunately, I'm assuming that my assistant, I usually log in. She has me all situated, but we have VAs from the Philippines, and sometimes they deal with technical issues. So bear with me as I'm trying to get everything situated. In the meantime, is there any questions that I can go ahead and address and go ahead and get going? All right. Well, let's go ahead and pick up where we left off. We are going to be talking about the expired script, and we're going to continue to pick up. This is going to be the last week that we're going to be going over the expired. We'll be moving over to a different script here this next week. All right. So let me get to my notes. I'm going to go through a quick little review of everything we've talked about this month. So just kind of bear with me. I know some of you are here for the very first time, and some of you guys are coming back. So thank you guys for those of you that are coming back. Again, for those of you that are over on YouTube, those of you that are on Instagram, unfortunately, I don't have Facebook on today. So you guys come join us over on Zoom. All right, so let's go over this. As far as the time is concerned, when we're calling expired, it's important we understand this because this is a controllable that we all have. You don't have to have any sort of skill, anything from this direction. It's really about a timing thing. What do I mean by that? Between the hours of 7 and 8 a.m., our competition is going to be probably 2 to 5 realtors, meaning right now, Pacific Standard, there's not too many realtors that are actually calling expireds. Now, again, depending on the market, if you guys are in a little bit of a bigger metro area, LA, New York, Chicago, Dallas, so on and so forth, it's probably going to be 20, 30 agents versus 2 to 5. But between the hours of 8 and 9, those numbers of 2 to 5 drastically goes up to 25 to 50. Okay. Between the hours of 9 and 10, those numbers now go up to 40 to 75. Why am I going over these numbers? Because some of you are right now in your flip-flops, in your PJs, getting ready to get to the office here in the next hour or two. And then let me go ahead and give it a shot at calling expireds. Well, the time you call them, you're going to get a lot of resistance. So if you're calling them 9, 9:30, 10 o'clock, you're going to get a lot of I'm sick and tired of you guys calling me. You're the 20th person that's called me. You're the 30th person that's called me. Who the F do you think you are calling me this early in the morning? You're getting all of these negative isms. So the time that you call them in some cases is as, if not more important than the skill that you have. Okay, what do I mean by that? Even myself, as well skilled as I am, if I call them around 9:30, 10, 10:30, I'm pretty much going to be going upstream. Okay, so we want to make sure that we understand the timing of calling the expires is going to be vital. Now, there is an asterisk, of course, that I have to give everybody. And the asterisk is, well, the DNC law came into effect, and the DNC law basically states we're not allowed to call before 8 o'clock. But I'm going to tell you, this isn't the broker talking to you. This is a coach talking to you. We got to make sacrifices with wherever it is that, you got to make. So you got to read between the lines. Okay. You got to read between the lines because ultimately my strongest coaching clients are calling as early as 6:30 in the morning. Okay. Next thing, the frequency. When we call expires, we want to call them 5 times a day. Go through that very quickly. Let's say, for example, you get 5 properties today. There's 3 phone numbers for each property. There's going to be 15 numbers. You're going to go through and you're going to call round 1, go through, call round 2, and then go through and call round 3. Okay, so you're going to call all 15 numbers. After you're done with that 15th number, an example, you're going to go back to the top and recall the list. However, this time you're going to go ahead and omit, get rid of, and not call back the people that you've spoken with, the wrong numbers, all this other stuff. Okay. Now, I talked about 5 times. What do you do 4 and 5? Well, after round 3, you're going to move on to other sources, whatever sources you go after. Okay, open houses, expireds. Old expireds, for sale by owners, just listed, database. Doing a lead follow-up or 2 or 5, whatever it is. That 4th round, you're going to do it at the very end of your morning prospecting routine. Okay, the very end of your morning prospecting routine. Now, what do we do the 5th one? The 5th one, you're going to be doing it at or after. Okay, at or after 5 o'clock. Okay, not before. Don't do it at 4, 4:15, 4:30, 4:45. Don't try to cheat the system. The reason we do this is simply because of the fact that at 5 o'clock, okay, at 5 o'clock There's going to be a handful of people that work a typical 8 to 5, 8:30 to 5, so on and so forth. They cannot take their floor into, I'm sorry, they can't take their phone onto this, onto the work floor or whatever that is. Okay. So, something I want to make sure that we do, of course, pay attention to. So that's at or after 5 o'clock. I also want you to create two focal points. Okay. What are the two focal points? The very first focal point is going to be your top three zip codes. I'm going to explain why in just a little bit. The second one is going to be your top three cities. Okay, what's the difference? Well, the difference is just simply based on volume. Okay, for example, an expired day junior, which is the 1st and the 16th, there's an abundance of expires that come in. Okay, on those days, you're very likely, again, depending on the market you're in, you're going to want to focus on your top three zip codes first. Okay, you might even want to go and knock on those doors before you even get back into prospecting. The other thing too is that with me, I have a personal integrity. I'm no longer anywhere near with where I was in terms of being in production. But when I was in full production, every single day, which is what I still coach my coaching clients, is every single day, 2 doors a day will keep the creditors away. Okay, so you want to be able to what's it called? Have some personal integrity. So if those expires show up in your top three zip codes or your top three cities, get your butt in the car, go and knock on them. Okay, when do you knock on them? It's up to you. Just knock on them throughout the day. Okay, if it's expired day or expired day junior, the 1st or the 16th, my recommendation is you go through the first 3 rounds, then you go knock. All the other days, just do it in the afternoon. Anytime is fine. Okay. And then Shelly's asking, is Enos the dialer? I'm not quite sure. Are you referring to Enzo? I think that's probably what you're referring to. Yeah. Okay. So Enzo, if you want more information, go ahead and send me a DM, and I'll get you basically the info for Enzo Dialer. Okay. So the Enzo Dialer, what is Enzo? It basically doesn't get data for you. It serves one primary purpose, and it's basically it's anywhere between, I think it's up to 14 lines. I keep forgetting, it's 13, 14 lines that you can call at the same time, which is crazy. Okay. So most dialers only have one line dialer. Mojo has 3 line dialers. Enzo has, I'm pretty sure it's up to 14. Okay. For some reason, I'm drawing a blank on the number of lines. And how does that help you? It helps you in terms of the number of contacts that you make per hour. Okay. Because everybody is struggling on contacts per hour. Okay. Which is the great thing about Enzo. Do you treat cancels the same as expireds? Yes. I just throw them in the mix. I don't really, in a sense, separate the cancels and the expireds other than just the labeling. Okay, so I would treat them the exact same thing. So I call them, everything I talk about expires is synonymous with the cancels. Okay, so thank you for the question. All right, so moving on. Let's take a look. I did talk about having some integrity with yourself in regards to going and knocking on 2 doors a day. I want you guys to think about this. Okay, this is one way that I would always add a listing 2 or 3 a month just by simply doing this activity from expireds. Every day, I'd knock on 2 doors from expireds or FSBOs, minimum. Some days it'd be 5, but it would be no less than 2. And the way that I'd go about that is I would always go through, call my list, and I would print them out. I'd put them to the side. I'd have those properties at the ready. And why would I print them out? That's my reminder. That's my trigger. If I had a listing appointment, okay, which is very frequent that I would have a listing appointment almost daily, what I would do is I would go and knock on those 1, 2, 3, or even 4 doors before the actual listing appointment. Okay. So now if it's 1 door, probably about a good 30, 45 minutes before. If it's 2 doors, it's very likely going to be an hour before. I'd go to my listing presentation. And then when my listing presentation was done, if they did not answer the first time I knocked on the door, I would come back around and knock on it again a second time. Okay. So let's talk about with what we do to, as far as what we leave behind just a little bit, but I do want you to go and knock on those 2 doors. Let's see. Deborah's asking, do you know what dialer Arch Agent uses? Well, they use their own dialing system. The systems that I actually promote is Vulcan. Okay, Vulcan has always been a great service provider for myself. Again, if you guys want a discount code, just send me a DM. I'll send you guys basically the information. Option number 2 is you can go to my website, okay, which is basically therobertvillanueva.com. You go there, you go scroll down, you'll see the Vulcan link. You can go ahead and just click on that link, and you guys can get access to Vulcan. Okay. All right. Let me take a look. Moving on. The other thing that I want to make sure that we are also an area of opportunity for most realtors. One is the time we call. Second is the skill. But within the skill, there's certain things that you can adopt instantly. And that is going to be the mirroring and the matching. Okay, we've talked about mirroring and matching. Now, the mirroring and matching is going to come from so many different perspectives. One of them is going to be from the tone. Okay, the tone. The tone that we have, or they have, I'm sorry, is what we want to match. Number two, the pace. Okay, are they speaking fast or are they speaking a little bit slower? Okay, so if they're speaking slow, don't run them over. I'm naturally a fast talker. So I always have to be conscious of when I'm speaking to somebody who's a little bit on the slower, more methodical side, I want to slow down just a smidge. Okay. I want to match them or at least be within reason. If they're speaking at a 4 or 5 pace out of 10, well, I want to be closer to a 5 or a 6. The other way around. Okay. If you're normally a slower, more methodical type of, speaker, and they're speaking at a rate of a 9 or a 10, you got to pick up the pace. Okay. Because a lot of times, especially like myself, when I'm talking about somebody who's talking slow, I'm kind of like, come on, get to the point. Okay. So we want to make sure that we're matching the rate of speech. Next thing is the volume. Okay. There's some people that just have this natural tendency that speak super duper high. Okay. And that's just at a high volume, I'm saying. And then there's other people that speak very soft, very quiet. Okay, so you want to be able to match that. The other thing is their cadence. Okay, cadence. I want you to think of something like, for example, somebody who's from the South, somebody who has a little bit of that accent, or a New Yorker, or somebody from Boston. Okay, think of those type of things. Okay, that's basically in a nutshell their cadence. The enunciation. Okay, do they enunciate or do they lack enunciation? Okay, so there's some people that just don't have any idea what enunciation even means. Okay, so enunciation, whether they do or they don't, you want to match that. Another thing, repeat and affirm. Repeat and affirm. Okay, it's awkward when you don't do it. Okay, then you go through, you ask them a question, where are you planning on moving to? And they go San Diego, and you go, oh, okay, well, when do you want to be there? Well, we want to be there already. Okay, good. Well, what'd you guys do to try to get your home sold? When you don't repeat and affirm, it's not natural. Okay, just think about the last conversation you had with, I don't know, whoever, just at random. Okay, you want to repeat and affirm. With expireds, um, another characteristic is the importance of empathy. Okay. Because they're frustrated, they're annoyed, they're agitated. They didn't get, they woke up and one day they said, babe, let's put this house on the market. We're ready to start our new chapter. And they were excited. We're going to get this house. We're going to get this bedroom. We're going to get this square footage. We're going to get this kind of a home, all this other stuff. 6 months later, they're still in the same house and they're frustrated. They're annoyed. You have to have some version of empathy. Okay. I'm sorry. It sucks. Just unfortunately, you guys didn't get the home sold. I understand. Yeah, you guys wanted to be there by the summertime and enjoy San Diego. And well, here we are. Fall is upon us. I get it. I understand. Okay, so let's get you guys over there as quickly as we possibly can. All right. So we want to make sure that we do pay attention to that. The other thing is their dialect or accent. Okay, a little bit of the difference between a cadence versus an accent. I want you to think of somebody again. Cadence is going to be somebody from the South, somebody from New York, somebody from Boston, where an accent is going to be somebody who speaks English as a second language. Okay, it's a little bit of a difference. There's a slight variance. Let me answer another quick question here. Shelly's asking, how do I handle the objection when the seller is just a no? No, when English is their second language. There's nothing we can do about it, Shelly. I mean, it's basically we just try our best. Okay, if especially when it's Spanish for me, I have no problem with it. But the moment that it starts to get into some of the Asian languages, I don't even bother. Just you still thinking about selling? Yes, great. Or I don't get a response. I don't really push too much on that. The other thing is when you knock around expires, what script are you using, or are you telling the neighbors their neighbor's house just expired? Okay, so that's a great question because I didn't get a chance to cover that. So I'm glad you brought that up.
You said my
All right. So in that, basically, when we're knocking on the neighbor's doors, okay, when we're knocking on the neighbor's door. So let's go over that here very quickly. So I go through, I'm knocking on 123 Main Street. That is basically Bob, the seller who expired. And I knock on his door and I go through the expired script with Bob. Bob, hey, my name is Robert. I'm a local realtor. The reason I stopped by is I'm sure you've gotten plenty of calls in regards to your property coming up on our computer as an expired. Just wanted to see when you were planning to interview the right agent for the job of selling your home, the script. But then I go to the next door neighbor's house, okay, because we talked about the 2-2-5 method. Okay, the 2-2-5 method or the 5-5-10. Okay, what's the 2-2-5? What's the 5-5-10? Well, the 2-2-5 is not only do I go to Bob's house, but I go to the two houses to the right, the two houses to the left, and the five behind me, or 5-5-10. Okay, this is a way to make your door knocking a little bit more effective. So now the question, which is being asked, is what do I tell the neighbors? So when I knock on the neighbors' doors, I'm going to go basically right next door, whether Bob does or doesn't answer. I'm going to go right next door and I'm going to go through and I'm going to say, hi, my name is Robert. I'm a local realtor. The reason I'm stopping by is I'm sure you know that Bob, your neighbor, was trying to get his property sold. We may have a potential buyer for him. I'm having a hard time getting a hold of him. What's the best number for me to reach him at? Okay. And 9 times out of 10, I'm going to get the I don't even know who Bob is. I don't even talk to the guy. I very seldomly talk to him. If anything, the only thing I do is just say hi. Okay. Which is very often. However, believe it or not, 1 out of 10 times, the neighbor next door thinks they're doing Bob a solid. Oh, yes, Bob. Yeah, he's been having a hard time. He was really frustrated with his agent. Yeah, he really wants to get his home sold. Well, what do I get? What I basically get is a phone number for Bob. But Robert, isn't that the same numbers that basically all these systems provide? Not always. Okay. Because Bob gave Joe, the next door neighbor, Bob's bat line. And what's Bob's bat line? Well, that is basically his work number. That is his work company paid for cell phone number that is not registered anywhere because it's registered to ABC Incorporated, which has nothing to do with Bob. Okay. So now I have ABC Incorporated. They gave Bob that phone. And now when I pick up the phone and I call Bob, okay, I'm going to go through and I'm going to have almost no competition. Okay. So that's basically the opening line. What else do I tell them? Well, I just simply use the just listed script. From there, what I'm going to do now, regardless of the response, if they say yes, here's his number, or no, I have no clue who he is, I'm now going to move in the direction of, well, how about yourself? Now that I'm here, when are you planning on moving? Okay. How long have you lived here? Where'd you move from? How'd you happen to pick this area? If you were to make a move, where would you go to next? Okay. So I'm just keeping that conversation intact. And believe it or not, you go and knock on those other 9 doors, okay, or the other, whatever, 20 doors. I guarantee you knock on 20 doors, you're going to get at least 3 or 4 people that's going to open the door. And of those 3 or 4 people that open the door, is going to be one person that's going to give you something of something. Even if it's a eventually, possibly, hopefully, maybe we're thinking about it at some point in time. We're not right now, but you'll get something. Okay. And sometimes that something is almost more immediate. Well, I'm so glad you actually stopped by. Okay. Because, yeah, we are actually looking to make that move. Okay. Most recent listing that Lizette and I took is exactly the scenario that I just described. Okay. Listed one property and literally 90 days later, the other person ended up listing the exact same property or a property in the same neighborhood. Okay. You just got to do your job. Okay. So just go out there and knock on the doors. Okay. All right, moving on. Any questions, comments, concerns, anything that I can address? I know I'm going over a lot of the notes, okay, but I want to make sure that I give everybody as much information as I possibly can. Let's talk about personality type. Personality type is important as well. Okay, there's 4 primary and personality types to pay attention to. There's driver. I'm going to break them down. Okay, driver, analytical, expressives, and amiables. Everybody is one of these. Okay. Everybody is one of these 4. Does it make you good? Does it make you bad? It's just who you are. As a driver, somebody who's direct to the point doesn't need the details. Okay. Just get to the point. What are you telling me? Okay. I have a lot of analytical traits. However, My primary personality type is driver. Okay. I'm right to the point. I make decisions quick. I'm not really good in terms of having good patience. So that's just who I am. So get to the point. Ask me with what you're going to ask me. Okay. So that's a driver. An analytical is somebody who's a little bit slower, a little bit more methodical, needs all the details. Okay. I'm really good with details, but I don't need the details. Okay. I'm very thorough, but I don't need to be thorough, if that makes sense. Okay. I don't need to, with analyticals, it's kind of almost as if you see this pensiveness in their, the way that they approach things. Like, I can't make a decision. I can't make a decision until I have all the information. And that's an analytical. Okay. So, which is one of the main reasons why I'm not an analytical, because it doesn't take me long to make a decision. I walk into a restaurant, I already know what it is that I want to order. Okay. An analytical is going to sit there and read the entire menu. Or in our case, they're going to go through and dissect the entire contract. I'm not. I'm the kind of person that, where do I sign? Okay. So an analytical is going to be the person that's going to cross the T's, dot their I's. The third one is the expressives. Okay. The expressives are almost always the easiest ones to identify. Not always, okay, but almost always. They're always the center of attention. They're the cheerleaders. Okay. They always have people around them in most cases because they are the jokesters. They are, the people that everybody wants to, they're fun. Okay. I love expressives. Okay. Lizette is a version of an expressive. Okay. She has a lot of analytical traits, but what I love about expressives is that they make my job easier because I don't have to do too much talking. They basically, in a nutshell, entertain themselves. Okay. So that is, in a nutshell, an expressive. They always want to be very vocal, and they want an experience. Okay. It's always about experiences for them. What's the difference between an expressive and an analytical? Okay, they're both very vocal. Analyticals always try to get to the very last point because they have a point to prove. Okay, but an expressive just kind of drops the idea and says, "Hey, we should go to wherever," and then that's it. Where an analytical is going to sit there and say, "Hey, we should go to wherever, and here's the reason why." That's what an analytical is going to do. Okay, and they're going to prove to you exactly why they should go there. An expressive is like, "Oh well, I just gave my 2 cents." And amiable, they don't like confrontation. Okay. I have zero problem with confrontation. And amiable will. They're always the type of people where they don't want to confront. They don't want to sit there and bug the waiter, waitress, the server, the attendee, whatever it is, because I don't want to ask them. Okay. I don't want to, impose on that. They're usually the everybody's best friend. They're the teddy bears. Okay. They always are making sure that everybody's okay. Are you okay? Are you okay? Yeah. Are you fine? Can I get you something to drink? Yeah. Okay, great. Yeah. How are you feeling today? Okay. They're very emotional type of people. Okay. They love the embracement. They and almost always are the huggers. Okay. They're always hugging. So that's basically an amiable. Now, why am I breaking this down? Because when you're calling these people, you have to know who you're talking to, and you won't always be able to know that right out the gate. Okay. And that helps because if I'm a driver and I'm talking to, and I always have a hard time with amiables because I always feel like I'm running them over. Okay. Or my favorite thing, and again, for my amiables, please take zero offense. Amiables, because they don't like confrontation, they have a natural tendency of, unfortunately, fibbing because they'd rather lie than to be confronted. Okay, especially coaching clients. Hey, did you get your homework done? Yeah, coach, I did. I got it done. Okay, great. Well, show me what the well, I my computer died. All right, or whatever it is. But when we're talking to these people over the phone and as a driver, instead of just sitting there saying, well, here's the reason why you should do this, is I now have to speak from an emotional standpoint. How is making this move going to impact you and your family? What was the benefit? What were you most looking forward to? Okay. I imagine you're probably pretty distraught at the fact that this has not actually taken place already. Okay. So pay attention to that. And there's going to be certain characteristics that they're going to sit there and talk about. A driver's like, come on, they're going to be the one word answers. Yep, no, not interested, not ready. Analyticals, they're going to give you a summary. Well, the reason why my home didn't sell, I'm going to give you five very, very specific reasons. Number one is because the agent didn't do this. Number two, because the agent didn't do that. Number three, because of this other stuff. All these things. And expressive, you ask them a question, they never answer the question. Okay. Where are you guys planning on moving to? Well, we really had an idea of going somewhere, and we were really looking forward to it. And oh my gosh, the house that we were looking at when we were going to get there was just absolutely stunning. Good. Where is that though? Right? That's an expressive. They're going to have a natural tendency of unfortunately not responding to the question. And again, last but not least, amiables in most cases, again, it's almost always about the family. It's always about emotion. It's always from that direction. Where were you guys planning on moving to? Well, my family and I were really looking forward to blank. Okay. And yeah, we're a little bit upset because we really wanted to be there and enjoying our new place and creating new memories for the most part. Okay. Any questions? We got a couple minutes left. Obviously, we're not going to get to role play today. So, any questions? Anything that I can address? All right. Very quickly, let's talk about door knocking. And then just to close that thing out, as far as door knocking, why do we door knock? Well, over the phone, okay. The market that I used to work with, which is basically LA, Inland Empire, all of that market, when I would call the LA Inland Empire market and at 9 o'clock, I would probably be around number 50, 75 in terms of number of realtors that were calling. By the end of the day, there was very likely about 200 agents that were calling on any given property. 200s. So I made the decision because I started my business out from door knocking. So I made the decision that I was going to take on more door knocking with the expireds and FISBOs. So in that, why do we door knock? Because your competition in door knocking, and even in the areas that I would work in, that was probably the second, if not the third most aggressive market in all of the entire nation. I would have much more than about two people I would compete with. And if it was crazy, 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 maybe five. Okay. I don't know the exact numbers, but in most cases, it wasn't much more than that. I would, ask the sellers, hey, how many people have actually knocked on your door? In most cases, I would get, well, there was another agent. Well, there's two other agents. Okay. So, yeah, absolutely. I feel more comfortable door knocking. Okay. And the reason I like door knocking is because it's way more personable. People get this courage to easily do this. Okay. Well, obviously, you don't do that. You do this. And what I'm saying is door knock is the hanging up. Okay. But at the door, if they open, it's very, very rare that they're just going to simply slam their door in your face and then just that's it. Okay. You will. Okay. You can knock on 10 doors, you're going to get 1 out of 10. Okay. So it's going to happen. But it's the other way around. When you're calling expired, you're going to get 9 out of 10 to hang up on you, anyways. Okay. All right, everybody. Well, hopefully you guys took away some good notes. We got 2 more days. Tomorrow we are going to spend way more time in regards to the role play. So thank you guys for tuning in. I'll see you guys tomorrow. By the way, there is no live today. Unfortunately, we posted so in case there is a little bit of confusion, there is no Instagram live today. Okay, but I will see you guys tomorrow, 7:30 Pacific Standard. And again, help me grow the audience. Okay, we're getting some good numbers. We're now about 60 to 70 people on all the platforms. Like I said, my ultimate goal is to get to 100 people on a consistent basis via all the platforms by the end of the year. So I could really appreciate your guys' help. All right, guys, we will talk tomorrow. Thank you guys for being here. Go take a listing or five. I'll see you guys soon. Bye bye. All right, guys, I'll see you guys later. See you guys. Tune in. Come join us over on Zoom. Okay, it's a little bit. I'm going to be sharing the script tomorrow, so you definitely want to see that. And I can't share the script on Instagram. I'll see you guys soon. Bye bye.